Hello learners, welcome back to the course on AI in Human Resource Management. We come to the last session. We'll be looking into a typical summary of what we have gone through. Over the last 30 hours, if you ask me, or 12 weeks to be precise, we have looked into a couple of aspects specific to AI in human resource management. Today, I would like to give you a bird's eye view of what this whole course was about, the rationale behind the course, and how we have executed each and every module. We'll go step by step. I'll try to give you some detailing about what has happened over the past 30 hours. I'm Dr. Abraham Sirlaisek. I'm an assistant professor at the School of Business, Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati. So I'll start this session by thanking all my learners who have enrolled. It is a very good number of enrollment, and I see that lot of people are interested in knowing, in learning the nuances and the nitty-gritties of AI in human resource management, and this is a testimony to that. Now, having said that, let's just recap what we went through. We'll go for module by module analysis so that it helps you to prepare yourself for the exam, also to give you a snapshot or a bird's eye view of what we were discussing all along for AI in human resource management. We started with first module where we looked into understanding AI. We had 3 lectures: deploying AI in HR practices, introduction to AI tools, leveraging AI for diversity management specifically. Then we went for module 2 where we looked into the decision making aspect, adoption of AI in specifically task automation, recruitment and talent acquisition. And lecture 3 was specifically HR metrics. In module 3, we categorically looked into AI in performance, which included the management, onboarding, person job fit. So basically, we looked into the role of AI in performance management, specifically application of AI in onboarding, using AI in person job fit. Module 4 was all about AI in HR analytics, people analytics, smart HRM. So lecture 1 was dedicated to HR analytics. Lecture 2 was people analytics using AI. HR administration application was discussed in the third lecture. And the fourth lecture, we had a discussion on smart HRM. Module 5 was all about usage of AI in various functions of HR, using of AI in employee retention, performance appraisal, employee trading, workforce planning, ethical concerns using AI in various functions of the HRM was also discussed in this particular module. Then in module 6, we looked into innovation and HR. Specifically, we looked into AI augmented human resource management. We gave due preference for learning and development programs, how it is coming up big time with the introduction of AI in human resource management. We looked into the disruptive innovation in HRM, which is actually the future of human resource management. In the subsequent module, we looked into the second part of innovation and HR, where we concentrated on HRM in the era of generative AI, a topic which is very dear to my heart. Lecture 2 was all about building organizational capabilities through AI-driven HRM. Metaverse in HRM was discussed in lecture 3, if you recollect. Subsequent modules included challenges and future opportunities of AI in HRM. The first lecture in that module looked into the challenges of AI adoption in HRM. Lecture 2 was all about HRM digitalization, success and future opportunities specifically. Module 9 was all about emerging trends, what is developing. We discussed the 2 parts, module 9 and module 10 respectively. Module 9, we looked into AI in sustaining green HRM, emerging trends of AI-based HRM, benefits of synergizing AI and HRM. Whereas in module 10, we looked into AI in compensation and benefits, in compliance, and even the relevance and the existence of AI-mediated knowledge management. Coming to the fag end of the course, module 11, we had a discussion on AI in SHRM, HRP and HR chatbots. We had specific discussion on that. Using AI in enhancing employee experience was another aspect which we discussed in module 11 related to AI tools and employee experiences. And in module 12, we concluded our discussion with AI and company culture and its concomitants with HR practices, where we specifically looked into HR and company culture. Adopting AI in managing company culture, we discussed in terms of 2 parts. Basically, we tried to give you some of the practical inputs which I'll discuss. Boon or curse, was what we concluded with, where we actually dissected the coexistence of human resource management and AI in two parts. Now, let's start to have a bird's eye view very quickly with respect to what we have covered in detail. The lecture AI in human resource management focuses on deployment of artificial intelligence in HR practices, highlighting its potential to transform traditional HR functions. So, when you're looking into, let's say, the key concepts of introduction of AI in HRM, what we typically understand is that AI simulates the human intelligence in machines, enabling tasks like learning, reasoning, perception, and even problem solving. So, you look into the applications part in human resource management, it will include predictive analytics for employee attrition, automated recruitment, it will include performance evaluations, and even chatbots for employee inquiries. When you're looking into, let's say, the types of AI specifically, we generally classify it as narrow AI and general AI. Narrow AI was all about designing for specific tasks, something like chatbots or, for that matter, recommendation systems. All these came under the purview of narrow AI. In general AI, we had hypothetical AI with human-like cognitive abilities which are not yet realized. We are waiting for the future evolution of that. Further, we looked into AI functionalities where we typically discussed on, if you remember, reactive machines. Reactive machines respond to stimuli without memory, like, let's say, some basic chatbots, or something like limited memory using historical data for decisions, example, self-driving cars or recruitment tools for that matter. We also had a discussion on the theory of mind, future AI that understands human emotions and intentions to a certain extent. Then we had a typical discussion on applications of AI in HR, specifically the main aspect, recruitment. Time and again, we'll try to reinforce that. AI is screening resumes, matching candidates, predicting the hiring success. You look into onboarding, you have personalized onboarding programs and chatbots for new hires. For performance management specifically, we had looked into AI which analyzes performance data and provides unbiased evaluations with respect to our discussions. And employee engagement was all about sentiment analysis and personalized development plans. You have administrative efficiency, finally, which we looked into, where we discussed on automating the payroll, scheduling, and leave management specifically. We also looked into the challenges in HR specific to the induction of AI. When you are looking into the real challenges of human resource management, talent acquisition is one. Remote work management, employee engagement, or to that extent compliance and upskilling. These are all critical aspects with respect to the challenges when we are discussing that. We also see that there might be some best practices for AI integration, something like defining clear objectives and aligning the AI initiatives with the business goals, or maybe sometimes choosing scalable, compatible AI tools and ensuring high quality data. Or you have to at times mitigate the bias, engage the stakeholders and start with pilot projects for that matter. Or even one of the most important best practice would be to maintain a human touch. Many a time we have tried to underscore this particular aspect, ensure the legal compliance, and typically measure the AI impact based on that. Then we ventured into typically the importance of AI in human resource management. But before I move further, AI has the potential to revolutionize HR by enhancing efficiency. This is what we understood. Not only enhancing efficiency, but if you ask me, decision making has its own importance, employee experience, there is a typical role. So, whatever said and done, successful implementation requires addressing challenges like bias, data privacy, employee resistance, like maintaining ethical standards and human oversight for that matter. So, by allowing or following these best practices, organizations can typically leverage AI to optimize the human resource functions without doubt and build a more engaged workforce. Now, when you look into typically the introduction of AI tools, we see that the particular lecture we looked into key concepts whereby we understood what is the significance to AI tools, or what are the positive aspects which AI tools bring. AI tools are specifically software applications utilizing algorithms and models to perform tasks that typically require the human intelligence. So basically, they analyze the data. What we have seen is that they sometimes recognize patterns, make decisions, and also generate content for that matter. So they are transforming industries like healthcare, which we have seen, finance, education, and entertainment. These are some of the typical areas where AI has already set a strong foothold in. When you're looking into the types of AI tools, we had a discussion on machine learning. It enables systems to learn from data and typically improve performance. You can recollect TensorFlow, PyTorch, etc., which we discussed. We had a discussion on NLP, natural language processing. It helps machines understand and process human languages, be it GPT or Google Translate for that matter. Then we had a discussion on computer vision, which allows machines to interpret and make decisions based on visual data, something like OpenCV or Google Vision API for that matter. We also had a typical discussion on the tools for robotics and automation, which typically improves efficiency of physical tasks and processes, right? Blue Prism, that was an example there. Speech recognition, we had a specific mention which converts spoken language into text, like be it the Google Assistant or Alexa for that matter. We had typical analysis with respect to data analysis and visualization, which analyzes complex data sets to extract insights, be it Tableau, Power BI, etc., which has certain elements of AI. Now, generative AI was another point of our discussion when we discussed the tool specifically, which creates new content, be it DALL-E or ChatGPT for that matter. And even, when you're looking into the imminent concern regarding DeepSeek, most of the people which they have is also the emerging situation or context that magnifies our discussion specifically with respect to this topic. When you're looking into AI-powered marketing tools which optimizes advertising and personalizes the user experiences, be it HubSpot or be it Salesforce, Einstein, all these aspects we had looked into in types of AI tools specifically. Then we further navigated to the applications of AI tools specifically. We looked into healthcare, as I already mentioned, lot of possibilities, be it diagnostic assistance, be it predictive analytics, be it personalized treatment. A lot of possibilities opened up with respect to healthcare. Similarly, in finance, be it fraud detection, be it algorithmic trading, be it risk assessment. If you look into retail, again, personalized recommendations could be a big outcome. Inventory management could be a big point. Customer service has taken a big leap with respect to the introduction of AI specifically. Manufacturing, you look into predictive maintenance, quality control, process optimization. You look into marketing, there are targeted advertising, sentiment analysis, or for that matter, specifically content generation. So all these aspects typically are also concerning marketing. And when you are looking into transportation, we have improvements and developments in autonomous vehicles, in terms of fleet management or route optimization for that matter. There are also situations whereby we have seen that entertainment and education has also taken up a big leap, especially when you look into education. What we always tried to underscore throughout the 12 modules was personalized learning. All the personalized learning possibilities came up as a result of this AI introduction. And you look into some of the assessment tools or tutoring systems for that matter are also part of the development in the realm of education. As I suggested, when you look into entertainment, it is where we are using AI, or we are in the grip of AI without even actually knowing that. So some content recommendation, game development, be it music composition, everywhere AI is already there. You look into real estate, you have perspectives brought in for property valuation. You have the possibilities of virtual tours or sometimes, let's say, a typical market analysis. All these aspects typically come as a result of the AI development in real estate. And finally, human resource, needless to explain because we are going through the explanation, recruitment, be it employee engagement, be it performance management, you say, all the typical domains are being clearly conquered by AI, if I can use the word. We also looked into how to choose the right AI tools. We had some use case and objectives, scalability, integration capabilities, or sometimes the data requirements, performance and accuracy, ease of use, cost and licensing, support and community, compliance and ethics, vendor reputation, even trial and evaluation. All these aspects were the recommended key factors to choosing the right AI tools. I'm not going into the detail, but since it's a bird's eye view, I thought I should give you a clear framework of what we had decided, what we had discussed. Now, we also looked into AI tools and HRMs. We took some specific examples, if you recollect, for recruitment specifically. We discussed on ATS, applicant tracking system, resume screening tools, chatbots like HireVue or Pymetrics, Soar, Maya, etc., or Zohr, Mia, etc. We also looked into onboarding platforms like digital platforms which helped in onboarding like Bamboo HR or Lessonly, even some digital training sessions for that. Or employee engagement, we use some discussions on pulse surveys, sentiment analysis. If you recollect the Glint or the Tiny Pulse or Culture Amp or Peakon, all these things we had discussed in detail. When it came to performance evaluation tools, continuous feedback systems, be it Lattice, be it Five, Reflective, a lot of such platforms were discussed. You looked into learning and development, LMS, we had skill gap analysis, Docebo, we had discussed Cornerstone on Demand, Coursera for Business, we had given some typical examples with respect to that, Edcast, we had given some typical examples with respect to that. When you looked into workforce planning, we had clear discussions on predictive analytics, turnover predictions. If you recollect, we had used the example of Vizier or Anaplan or predictive HR. All these things were some of the aspects which we discussed under workforce planning. In automation, we had serious discussions with respect to chatbots, document management, be it Service Board, DocuSign or Zenefits. So all these aspects were typically concerning automation. In case of diversity and inclusion, we looked into the bias detection, diversity analytics, hope you recollect Textio or Syndio for that matter, which we discussed. Or employee retention was mainly with respect to well-being platforms, retention tools, LifeWorks, the example we took for Know Your Team. So AI tools are rapidly evolving and becoming more accessible, offering immense potential to streamline process and to enhance the productivity and innovative solutions across various fields. And this typically includes human resource management also. So selecting the right tools and implementing them thoughtfully is crucial for maximizing their benefits. So the lecture, typically what we had a discussion on, provided a valuable foundation for understanding the landscape of AI tools, what are existing, what are evolving, and what are the benefits of the typical tools which we discussed. And then we looked into how we can leverage AI for diversity management. Leveraging AI for diversity management typically explored how artificial intelligence can be utilized to enhance the diversity and inclusion initiatives, typically in any organization. So, as part of that, we looked into diversity management. We understood that diversity management is the strategic practice of creating, promoting, and maintaining a diverse workforce valuing differences. So, basically, it encompasses inclusion, it encompasses equity, cultural competency, retention, policy development and continuous improvement. So basically our objectives included promoting inclusion and equity, enhancing organizations' performance, attracting talent if you ask me, improving employee satisfaction, and also fostering the cultural competence. So it all led to a good sort of understanding within and outside the organization. So when you look into leveraging AI for diversity management, you have to understand typically what is the importance of diversity in workplace. It drives creativity, it drives innovation. We had serious discussion with respect to that. It improves problem solving, it increases employee engagement and satisfaction. You tell me, all the factors that typically broadens the talent pool, leads to better decision making, and it can have serious effect on reducing the turnover and specifically enhancing the organization's reputation. Everything is included in diversity management as part of its importance. So this particular lecture, I think, was one of the most critical lecture when we look into the entire scheme of things. We also had a discussion on role of AI in diversity and inclusion. Specifically, AI in diversity and inclusion uses AI tools to enhance DEI initiatives by analyzing data, identifying bias, and recommending solutions. So I wanted to clear it in the beginning itself. So when you are talking about possibilities of leveraging AI for diversity management, it could be bias reduction in recruitment. AI tools typically analyze job descriptions for bias. Be it, an example could be Textio, automate resume screening and create blind recruitment process. Or let's say it enhances the data analytics process altogether. You're looking into AI that analyzes employee data to identify the diversity patterns, track metrics, and analyze the sentiment. We also look into bias training and education specific to AI, personalizing learning to reduce the bias and promote the cultural competency. It could include even simulations. We also had we also had a discussion on inclusive work promotion. AI supporting ERGs and analyzing real-time interaction data. We also looked into the retention and advancement analysis, typically where AI tracks the career progression, analyzes exit interviews, and provides decision support. We also typically looked into AI-driven decision support, where it provides objective insights for evaluations and facilitates the diverse teamwork. And finally, we also looked into predictive analytics for future diversity, AI forecasting the diversity trends. So we concluded the whole analysis with challenges and considerations. If you recollect, data privacy, algorithmic bias specifically, and ensuring cultural add rather than just cultural fit. So this, please recollect, go and look into that particular lecture on how beautifully we looked into cultural add and not culture fit. That was the key aspect. So the particular lecture looked into leveraging AI. What are the possibilities? So AI offers significant potential to improve the diversity and inclusion in organizations, if you ask me. So by automating the bias detection, providing data-driven insights, and facilitating inclusive practices, AI can typically help build more diverse and equitable workplaces. So whatever said and done, this is going to happen in no time. And we have already seen the repercussions. We are already seeing how AI is evolving in that particular case. Then we ventured into the second module, where we typically started looking into decision making. When you are talking about decision making, it delves into the transformative role of AI, artificial intelligence, in modern day decision making process. So the key concepts would be interesting because specifically you look into introduction of AI in decision making. AI in decision making isn't just about replacing human judgment. It's about augmenting it. And that's the beauty. Many a time, job displacement and job replacement, I have categorically emphasized this particular fact. So when you are looking into AI technologies, they are employed to analyze vast data sets, identify intricate patterns, and generate predictions, thereby empowering humans to make more informed and strategic decisions for that matter. We looked into the evolution of AI in business decisions. If you recollect, we started with the early 50s, typically early days, where the initial phase was characterized by theoretical exploration. You looked into development of rudimentary rule-based systems, expert systems designed to mimic human practice, or human expertise in specific domains emerged but had limited scope. Then we looked into the increased data availability nearly around the 80s and 90s. The advent of data warehousing allowed organizations to typically consolidate and analyze large volumes of data. So, statistical methods became prevalent for market research and trend analysis, laying the groundwork for data driven decision making. Then we moved to the 90s and 2000s, where we looked into how machine learning emerged. Machine learning algorithms capable of learning from data without explicit programming marked a significant leap. So, predictive analytics used for risk assessment and customer segmentation typically gained traction during this particular period. Then we come to 2010s, where we typically had the integration of AI technology, the confluence of big data, cloud computing, and advanced analytic tools like data visualization platforms accelerated AI adoption. We also looked into the NLP that enabled machines to understand and interact in human language, leading to chatbots and virtual assistants. We had typical navigation from 2010s to 2010-2020 period, where we had the automation and real-time decisions, basically mid 2010s to 2020. AI powered automation streamlined routine decision making in areas like supply chain and customer service. So, organizations began embracing a data driven culture, prioritizing real time insights over intuition. We also had finally AI democratization, basically from 2020 to present, what we are seeing today. So, AI tools have become increasingly accessible and user friendly, enabling wider adoption across businesses of all sizes. So, ethical considerations surrounding AI bias and transparency have also come to the forefront. So, human AI collaboration is now a key focus. And finally, we concluded this particular discussion, if you recollect, with future trends. Now, the future promises even more sophisticated AI integration, explainable AI, etc. So, explainable AI will actually increase the transparency, there is no doubt about it. AI governance frameworks will ensure responsible use, and augmented intelligence will focus on enhancing the human capabilities with AI. That said, we further navigated to the key aspects of AI in decision making, which were data analysis. The AI's ability to process massive data sets and identify hidden patterns is vital for extracting meaningful insights. Forecasting future trends and outcomes allows for proactive decision making altogether. You look into personalized recommendations, which enhances user engagement and satisfaction. You have AI which optimizes resource allocation and which simulates scenarios for better decision making. You have automating or automation routine decisions frees up human resources mainly for more of strategic tasks and strategic decision making. We also had typical risk assessment, where AI identifies and mitigates potential risk. We also looked into AI powered decision support systems, which empower teams with real time insights. And finally, we also had a discussion on addressing the potential biases in algorithms and data, which is paramount for fair and equitable outcomes. Then we moved into the types of AI tools for decision making. If you recollect, we have seen benefits of AI in decision making typically. What actually the typical objective benefits of AI in decision making. So, the benefits like impacting accuracy or cost or customer understanding or agility, or what I can recollect is availability or scalability for that matter, complexity, risk management, consistency, all these factors were deeply discussed. Then we looked into the challenges in adopting AI for decision making. Adopting AI is not without its hurdles. Strategic vision, data quality, system integration, gaps in the skills, or maybe the trust deficiency or trust deficit, ethical concerns, cultural resistance, or cost, or ROI measurements, or regulatory compliance, all pose significant challenges. So, addressing these challenges proactively is crucial for successful AI implementation. Future trends in AI driven decision making was what we discussed, and we summarized the finding as something which is very critical. Then we moved into the second module, lecture 2, where we looked into the possibility of administrative task automation. AI is automating the mundane and repetitive administrative tasks, freeing up the HR professionals for more strategic initiatives, a point which we just discussed now. So, this could include AI eliminating manual data entry, reducing errors, and saving time. Or let's say sometimes AI powered tools automate meeting scheduling and calendar management for that matter, or AI automating document creation, storage, and retrieval, or AI streamlining the email communication through automated responses and sorting, or sometimes AI automatically generates reports and dashboards. Or sometimes there are possibilities of processing, invoice processing, AI streamlining invoice processing and tracking. There are also situations of reminders and follow-ups. AI automates reminders and follow-up communications. And specifically, we see that there could be a possibility of AI process information capture through online forms. So these were some of the possible administrative task automation. When you look into AI tools for automation, we have workflow automation software, tools like JotForm and Cflow automate workflows, or IDPs, intelligent document processing. Software using OCR automates the typical data extraction altogether. We also looked into the customer relationship management, CRM softwares, which automates the customer data management and communication. And we also looked into RPA, robotic process automation, chatbots, and virtual assistants. Like if you recollect, we had a discussion on tools like UiPath or Automation Anywhere, or even Microsoft Power automate tasks and integration. So these are some of the critical aspects which we discussed with respect to AI tools for automation. We also looked into AI for scheduling and calendar management, where we understood that automated meeting schedule, time zone management, or intelligent rescheduling, or let's say integration with other tools, they all came under the key features. Or typically we also looked into the benefits which included time savings, reduced stress, or increased productivity, or error reduction for that matter. We also looked into some of the popular AI scheduling assistants. Please recollect which were the popular AI scheduling assistants. I'll pause for a moment. Just recollect if you are with me. You looked into Clockwise or Reclaim AI, Scheduler AI, Trevor, or Calendly. They offer a range of features for individual and team scheduling. We also looked into some future trends in AI-driven administrative automation. If you remember, we looked into the possibility of end-to-end process automation using AI, RPA, and machine learning. We looked into AI, which will assist in strategic decision making with real-time insights. We looked into administrative tools which will become more personalized and have a particular user preferences. So basically some sort of personalization. We also had predictive analytics specifically. We also used enhanced workflow management, typically AI which optimizes workflow and predicts bottlenecks. We had real-time data processing, integration of IoT, which we already seen, focus on employee empowerment. So AI will typically free employees from mundane tasks, allowing them to focus on higher value work. So we also had a small discussion on cross-industry applications, if you remember. AI automating principles that will apply across the industry. Then we looked into AI in recruitment, key functions, benefits. We looked into AI tools in recruitment. Some of the typical tools include the Querios, Manatal, LinkedIn Recruiter, Holly, Fetcher.ai, chatbots, Phenom, Pymetrics, ICIMS, Talent Cloud. These all typically offers, possibilities in terms of AI in recruitment specifically. We concluded this discussion with challenges of implementing AI in recruitment, which more or less included the same, the data privacy concerns, the quality of data, resistance to change, ethical considerations, etc. So we also looked into the future trends in AI driven recruitment, like synergy between recruiters. AI will augment, not replace, please note. And we also looked into immersive assessments, which will provide engaging candidate evaluation. So some sort of gamification and VR elements embedded into that. AI will automate screening with greater, accuracy and objectivity to a certain extent. And also chatbots will handle initial candidate interaction and provide decent information with respect to that. We also had some predictive analytics discussion. We also looked into automated interview scheduling. I'm not listing down everything here, but if you recollect, we are also discussed on the integration of blockchain technology also. Then we looked into AI in talent acquisition, sourcing talent, AI powered platforms. We also looked into AI tools for talent sourcing, specifically Phenom. If you recollect, we had a big discussion on Phenom. Phenom's AI powered platform, which focuses on high volume hiring, streamlining the typical process from sourcing to onboarding. So it automates, personalizes the candidates, the experience of recruitment, of how he or she comes into the company from day one, and enables efficient communication and evaluation, ultimately reducing time to hire and improving the talent acquisition process. Then we ventured into HR metrics. We understood what is HR metrics. We looked into the key functions of HR metrics, specifically a very quick revision. When you're looking into the key functions, metrics assess specific HR functions, recollect recruitment, training, engagement, to identify areas of improvement. So basically performance management. We looked into trend analysis. Tracking metrics over time reveals workforce trends and patterns, informing strategic planning and future needs. We had a discussion on resource allocation with respect to key functions of HR metrics. We had discussion on employee experience, the evaluation of that. Specifically, you look into metrics related to satisfaction, metrics related to engagement, which provides insights into employee experience and crucial for retention and culture altogether. We also had, discussion on compliance and specifically risk management. Metrics related to monitoring compliance with labor laws and regulations. We also looked into some common HR metrics like, let's say, turnover rate, time to hire, cost per hire, or employee engagement score for that matter, absenteeism rate, or training cost per employee, or maybe diversity ratio for that matter, promotion rate, or even HR to employee ratio or employee productivity altogether. So these were some of the common HR practices which we discussed. Then we looked into the importance of HR metrics, how good it is, especially with respect to data-driven decision making, especially with respect to strategic alignment, resource allocation, or continuous improvement, or enhanced accountability. We then ventured into the basic aspect of how to choose the right metrics. Many a time in many of my lectures within the course, I have underscored, or I have tried to underline one fact, that whatever is the right metrics for you, please choose that one. There are a lot of possibilities that are available, but with respect to your specific requirement, what is that is required, please go for that, because it has a certain cost involved to that, which is typically not understood in a clear terms. When you're looking into how to choose the right metrics, please recollect our discussions on aligning metrics with your business goal, or let's say identifying key areas of focus, or defining each metric clearly, choosing the relevant metrics, or let's say limiting the number of metrics to a certain number, or determining frequency of reporting, or utilizing technology for data management, or even review and adjustment metrics regularly. When we looked into the challenges in HR metrics, we see that there is lack of clearly defined goals that can lead to ineffective measurement, unclear objectives and focus specifically. Data quality and accuracy was a problem. Lack of resources emerged as a problem. Resistance to change emerged as a problem. Gaps in data collection emerged as a problem. Lack of stakeholder buy-in emerged as a problem. Ethical considerations emerged as a problem. Skills gap emerged as a problem. Integration with existing systems emerged as a problem. Overemphasis on metrics without context also was discussed as a problem. So HR metrics, no doubt, they are vital tools for understanding and improving workforce management. By selecting the right metrics, defining them clearly, and addressing the associated challenges, organizations can use the data-driven insights to enhance the HR practices. But that said, we have to have a strategic, a thoughtful and ethical approach to HR metrics and implementation. Then we ventured into module 3, where we started looking into role of AI in performance management specifically. We looked into why AI in performance management, traditional performance management can be time intensive and often lacks real-time insight. So organizations seek faster, more personalized approaches focused on future performance rather than past assessment. So AI offers solutions to these challenges. We also looked into why AI in performance management, what are the different performance management tools, softwares. We looked into some goal setting softwares, if you recollect. We looked into some performance appraisal softwares, 360-degree feedback tools, or sometimes even some performance analytics dashboards, which provides real-time insights into individual and team performance. We also looked into some performance management apps specifically. So all these things specifically looked into the typical aspect of performance management specifically. Main role of AI in performance management was typically there is no human error. Projections are based on comprehensive data. You are looking into continuous assessment and real-time analysis when you're talking about AI in performance management. You have better managers for that case. You have employee engagement. You have training and development improvement. Now, when you look into the main role of AI in performance management, typically you do not have any human error. Projections are based on comprehensive data. There are continuous assessment and real-time analysis possibility. You have better managers, better employee engagement, and better training and development initiatives. You look into HR technologies and AI in performance management specifically. You have predictive analytics, which forecasts future performance trends and it highlights areas for improvement. You have improved accuracy and objectivity. You have AI-powered chatbots and typically virtual assistants. So performance management, digitization under AI influences, typically the ease of data evaluation. We have seen that in case of EHRM in terms of feedback. We also looked into some of the main strengths for AI usage in performance management. Please recollect our discussions on quick and accurate ways of performance management, automating administrative tasks, or data handling and processing, the efficiency in that, or unbiased and errorless decisions. We also looked into some main challenges for AI usage in performance management specifically, if you recollect. You looked into some of the typical aspects like lack of human touch, lack of affinity of communication, or lack of transparency, or even at times risk of decontextualization. There is also a possibility of the future landscape, which we discussed, which included predictive performance analytics, which included real-time feedback and personalization. Or AI might be considered as a coaching partner or enhancing the employee engagement, ethical and fair appraisal systems, workforce upskilling and adaptability, integration of AI and human insight. So all these aspects typically were discussed in the first lecture. In the second lecture, we looked into onboarding. We looked into the difference between onboarding, induction, and orientation. We had clear discussions on that. I'm not going to spend time here, but we looked into AI onboarding and why we use AI in onboarding. Typically for efficiency, it automates a routine task. It ensures that all employees receive consistent information. It assists with adherence to legal and company policies, tailors the onboarding process to individual needs. We also had a discussion with respect to We also had a discussion with respect to the role of AI in onboarding, specific to what we have seen with respect to the role of AI in onboarding. We have seen how it enhances onboarding formalities, how it adapts to onboarding for remote and hybrid works. Please recollect, we have given you some typical insights into some tools. Basically, some tools, basically including Bamboo HR, Workday, Calidus, Greenhouse onboarding, Click onboarding, etc. We have discussed about the possibilities of HR chatbots in onboarding. The core technologies, chatbots in specific to chatbots in recruitment and onboarding. We have looked into the benefits and the limitations also, like faster and streamlined process, improved customer experience, increased efficiency and cost savings, etc., being the benefits. We have seen that limitations are many, coding errors, cyber attacks, implementation costs or technical difficulties, or maybe even sometimes organizational challenges or remote onboarding issues. We also had a discussion, if you recollect, with respect to applications, potential applications of AI in onboarding, AI powered decision support, autonomy in onboarding tasks or personalized learning and training, work tracking and training analysis, or chatbot assistance, or automatic scheduling, or AI human collaboration for that matter, or employee role clarity, or maybe complex problem solving. All these were some of the critical aspects. Best practices, many best practices for effective AI onboarding we had discussed. We looked into future trends in onboarding automation also, which typically enhance the personalization, integration with VR, AR, AI driven predictive analytics, and even the continuous learning and development, etc. So these were some of the critical aspects which we had discussed with respect to applications of AI in onboarding. Then we looked into the third lecture, where we looked into the use of AI in person job fit. So here specifically we looked into what is person job fit. We tried to introduce you to the concept of person job fit. We made you aware of the compatibility between an individual's ability, personality, interests, and needs and requirements of specific occupation. So good fit was essential. We underscore the importance of person job fit. If you recollect all those discussions on increased job satisfaction or higher performance and productivity, lower employee turnover, improved employee engagement, better organization, culture fit, enhanced employee well-being, effective teamwork, all those things came under this importance of person job fit. We looked into typical aspects of key functions of AI in person job fit. Then we looked into measuring person job fit using AI, the discussions on Eightfold.ai as a tool, or HireHuel, or Pymetrics, or let's say something for cultural fit analysis, Ideal or NAC, or something which we have discussed with respect to, predictive analytics like Entelo, or interview and communication analysis, again, HireVue or TalView for that matter. We had discussions on task fit and role alignment with respect to Textio, continuous feedback and learning systems, again, Eightfold.ai. So that was something which we discussed with respect to measuring person job fit. We then looked into applications of using AI in person job fit, where we have candidate screening and matching. Let's say the examples would be Turing or Seek Out, predictive analytics or skill and personality assessment, HireLogic or Vervoe, or video interview analysis, HireVue. So all these typical aspects led us to discuss on the benefits typically and the limitations of using AI in person job fit. So basically, we concluded with the understanding that AI offers significant potential for enhancing person job fit by automating tasks and analyzing data and providing valuable insights. While these limitations related to bias, transparency, and complexity of human interaction exist, the strategic use, if you ask me, the strategic use of AI can lead to more efficient, data driven, and ultimately more successful hiring outcomes. Now, specifically, we move to the module 4, where we started looking into one of the most key aspects, which is HR analytics. We introduce you to the concept of HR analytics, how HR analytics is different from other analytics, let's say workforce analytics, people analytics, or talent analytics, as you see. We also looked into the types of HR analytics later. If you recollect, we have seen descriptive, diagnostic. Descriptive is what happened. Diagnostic is why did it happen. Predictive is what will happen, and prescriptive will be that how can we make it happen. So these are some of the typical aspects with respect to types of HR analytics which we discussed. Then we had data analysis levels, at different point: organize, display, relate, model, evaluate. We also looked into the applications of HR analytics specific. What are the typical aspects with respect to people analytics and AI enhancement for that particular matter. We have also looked into a typical framework, if you recollect, the IEEI framework, which was all about looking into identify, evaluate, experiment, and implement. So these were some of the critical learnings that we had in our HR analytics typical lecture. We also looked into the HR administration application. We understood the essentials of HR administration applications typically, where we tried to understand what is the importance of HR administration, what is the difference between some of the HR functions. We also looked into the benefits of HR administration application and popular HR administration applications. If you typically recollect, you had a clear discussion on Bamboo HR, Cenefits, Gusto, or maybe namely Kissflow, ADP Workforce Now, Orange HRM. So these were some of the typical popular HR administration applications, at least, which we had a discussion on. So similarly, we looked into the best practices for effective HR administration, and finally we looked into Smart HRM in this module. Smart HRM utilizes Industry 4.0 technologies like AI, machine learning, IoT, chatbots, big data to manage human resources more effectively and efficiently. So these were some of the critical aspects which we discussed. Especially we had a deeper discussion on common technologies used, which we have seen, like AI, big data analytics, cloud computing, mobile technology, or LMS, learning management systems, or blockchain technology, or chatbots, or virtual reality and augmented reality, etc. We also try to understand the use of AI tools for employee retention. So many a time we tend to undermine that, especially with respect to Peakon platform. We try to establish the tools for employee retention. What is the typical timeline with respect to, or what is the typical use of these particular AI tools? Then we ventured into our fifth module, which was about using AI for employee retention. So specifically, we looked into the key aspects of employee retention. We looked into the typical AI tools for employee retention. Please recollect our discussions on predictive analytics for turnover prediction, or personalized employee development plans. So with respect to functionality, with respect to application, with respect to benefits, we had a discussion on that. We looked into enhanced onboarding experiences, real-time feedback engagement surveys, automated recognition programs, etc., health and well-being support. So all these factors were typically discussed. And with respect to Peakon platform, an example of AI-powered employee engagement and retention platforms, which included a lot of features, including real-time engagement tracking, AI-powered surveys, customizable reports, insights into turnover drivers, or goal setting and progress tracking. So a lot of such factors were discussed with respect to the AI tools for employee retention. Then we ventured into the second lecture in the module, where we looked into the performance appraisal per se. ADP Workforce was one of the key discussion points in the particular lecture, where we looked into how typically we can look into performance appraisal, specifically assessing the performance dashboard, or reviewing employee progress, or entering responses on rating, submitting the review, printing the form. All these were typical aspects that could be done with this ADP Workforce. Then we ventured into using AI in employee training, and this was with respect to the entire set of aspects on structured learning paths, micro learning sessions, personalized content, compliance training integration, robust reporting for managers, etc. So typically the Axonify platform, which we discussed, an example of AI driven learning platform for frontline employees. We also had a discussion on various tools, if you typically recollect. These were the AI tools that were used for workforce planning from Accenturis, from Actoris, Quinix, the Ultimate Chronos Group, Motivosity, Empers. All these things were typically looked into in the angle of AI tools for workforce planning. And specifically, we looked into some of the typical aspects concerning our discussions on workforce planning where AI is revolutionizing the workforce planning by providing powerful tools for predictive analytics. It is also giving real-time insights. It is helpful for scenario planning. So while challenges related to data quality and ethical considerations do exist, the benefits of AI in workforce planning, such as improved accuracy, the cost efficiency, they are all substantial. So the various AI tools listed offer a range of functionalities to support different aspects of workforce planning. It could be from, let's say, forecasting labor needs to identifying skill gaps and improving employee retention. So by embracing these technologies, organizations can make more informed decisions about their workforce and better align their talent strategies with their business objectives. Then we ventured into the fifth lecture in the module, where we looked into ethical concerns in using AI in various functions of HR. Specifically, we had a discussion on ethical concerns in recruitment, hiring, be it the bias, discrimination, privacy issues, misrepresentations, and nepotism, chronism, conflict of interest, social media screening, or some of the ethical concerns being confidentiality issues, pressures to achieve target, or sometimes inconsistent evaluation standards, the quality of feedback, bias in evaluation, or sometimes even the ethical concerns with respect to fairness and transparency, respectful treatment, or ethical leadership, or workplace politics, recognition practices, etc. We also looked into the ethical concerns in training and development. Again, the same favoritism and bias, misrepresentation of training programs, lack of inclusivity, if you ask me, confidentiality issues were there, quality of training content was there. So all these aspects are typical with respect to the ethical concerns in training and development. Ethical concerns in workforce planning and analytics also had bias as an element, transparency in decision making, employee surveillance. Strategies to address ethical concerns were an aspect which were critical with respect to our discussions. Right from structured interviews, diversity training for recruiters, transparency and explainability, ethics training, audits and inclusive data, employee consent, human oversight, 360-degree feedback systems, training for managers on bias awareness, and even developing ethical guidelines. All these factors were typically discussed under the strategies to address the ethical concerns. So basically, the ethical implications of using AI in HRM are complex. Organizations must navigate challenges related to algorithmic bias, transparency, privacy, and accountability for that matter. So prioritizing ethical considerations, be it regular audits or transparent decision making or data privacy safeguards or human oversight, is all crucial and vital. Some of the other factors which are already discussed, I do not want to venture into, but please note we have discussed these many strategies to address the ethical concerns. Now we move to the sixth module, where we typically started working on a conceptual model for HRM AI. You look into the key concepts. We talk about AI augmented HRM, which was understood as HRM AI. We looked into the business intelligence system, what is EHRM, HRIS for that matter, difference between EHRM, HRIS, HRM AI, all those aspects. Like EHRM focuses on improving HRM strategies and efficiency, helping with employee and client management. HRIS provides high quality information to HR and management, helping HR gain a competitive edge. HRM AI uses data and AI tools for better decision making in HR. So all these aspects were typically looked into, and we tend to develop a conceptual model where we had the HRM aspects, we had the AI technologies, and we made it as an equation that how it comes out as AI HRM system. So basically we have as an output of both the HRM and AI technology. This is the crux. This is the crux of the entire course, entire things coming together. We form the intelligent decision assistance system. We have the intelligent evaluation system, human machine interactive system, intelligent training system, consultant system, and intelligent incentive system specifically. So these are some of the typical aspects which are happening with respect to the HRM AI. We also looked into the organizational performance, typically, multi-level framework for development of HRM AI, not going into detail, but please recollect all those discussions with respect to the organizational performance with respect to different levels: organizational outcome level, HRM consequence level, HRM reconfiguration level, organization level, contextual level. So all these are graded with respect to the levels. And then we move to the learning and development L&D programs. We looked into the methods for implementing L&D programs, specifically need assessment, coaching, remote training, experiential learning, cross training, skill building, mentoring, diverse learning methods. All these aspects were typically detailed with respect to learning and development programs specifically. Then we looked into the specific aspects of AI tools for L&D. We looked into Ejumi and FEAI, EdCast, LXP. We looked into the different tools like, again, NovoED, Adaptame, etc. So a host of these tools were discussed to understand that L&D programs are essential for employee growth, but so L&D programs are essential for employee growth and organizational success. So AI is playing an increasingly important role in enhancing L&D, enabling personalized learning, improving efficiency, and providing valuable data-driven insights. So tools like FEAI demonstrate how AI can integrate into specific L&D process such as performance reviews. Now, let's look into the disruptive innovation in HRM, which we discussed in the third lecture. And when we look into disruptive innovation, typically we talk about innovations that replace the existing technologies, causing significant industry changes. Disruptive innovations can often start simple and at low end of the market gradually moving upward. In this particular module, we had discussed about the impact of HRAI, AI in recruitment, performance management, AI driven coaching, employee monitoring and productivity, or even bias reduction, something which we have discussed throughout, AI for talent retention, development, cost and time efficiency. We have also looked into the impact of robots in HRM, robots in recruitment. Let's say chatbots for HR support, automating HR processes, cobots, collaborative robots, or workplace harassment monitoring, enhanced employee communication. So all these aspects were typically discussed with respect to the disruptive technology. We also looked into the critical implications like adaptation and digitization, or business continuity, or evolution of HR functions, demand for new skill set, or even to that extent job displacement, data privacy and security, or employee resistance. So we concluded with the discussion that disruptive technologies are transforming HRM, creating both opportunities and challenges. Organizations must embrace these technologies to remain competitive, but they must also address ethical considerations such as job displacement and data privacy. So the future of HRM will be characterized by greater integration of AI, robotics, and networks, a more strategic role for HR professionals. Then we come into certain topic which is all about HRM in the era of generative AI. So this is something which is very critical, especially with the advent of DeepSeek and all. We see that there is a lot of thought process, lot of discussions and deliberations going on. We in this particular module looked into the types of generative AI in HRM. We looked into ChatGPT, DALL-E, Bard, if you recollect. We looked into the guidelines for effective prompts like be specific, provide organizational context, use precise terminology, desired outcomes, maintain confidentiality, etc. We looked into the challenges of generative AI in HRM, like bias, ethical implications, integration issues, job displacement, etc. We also looked into the do's and don'ts, state goals, seek evidence, demand explanation, respect confidentiality. So all these typical do's and don'ts also were typically discussed with respect to the generative. We also looked into how we can build organizational capabilities through AI driven HRM. Specifically, we understood the organizational capabilities. Organizational capabilities is nothing but a firm's ability to effectively deploy resources to achieve strategic objectives and sustain competitive advantage. So it encompasses skills and processes and even knowledge to a certain extent. We also looked into key components of organizational capabilities. I'm not getting into that. We looked into the strategic capabilities, the core capabilities, the enabling capabilities, cultural capabilities, leadership capabilities, all with examples, even the learning and development, customer connectivity, etc. So all these typical aspects were looked into from a capability point of view. We also looked into the sub-disciplines of AI in HRM. Specifically, we had a detailed discussion on the sub-disciplines of AI in HRM, where we typically understood that machine learning, artificial neural network, and deep learning, robotic process automation were all part and parcel of this particular AI in human resource management specifically. We also tried to connect these sub-disciplines with respect to the different domains in human resource management. Then we looked into the metaverse in HRM, where we typically understood what is metaverse. Metaverse is a persistent, shared, multi-user digital space, if you ask me, merging physical and digital worlds through VR and AR technology. So it offers potential for transforming business operations, particularly in HRM. So metaverse driven HRM transformation we looked into reshaping workplace dynamics and culture, addressing new challenges in HR practices, etc. We looked into even the space and resource efficiency. We looked into the multifaceted challenges of metaverse integration. Specifically, what are the required policies and safety concerns, what are the generational resistance, technology expertise cost, technical limitations, physical work limitations, etc. So basically, the metaverse typically offers exciting possibilities for HRM, from recruitment and onboarding to training and performance management. So while the initial investment and integration challenges are significant, the potential long-term benefits, including cost savings and enhanced employee experiences, make it a compelling area for exploration. So when you look into typically the multifaceted challenges, we see and understand this typical conclusion. Now we look into the module 8 discussions, where we looked into the challenges of AI adoption in HRM. So we looked into the technological and data challenges very quickly, legacy systems, the data quality and availability, data security and privacy, scalability issues we had a big discussion on. We also looked into organizational and structural challenges, if you recollect, the resistance to change, talent gap, leadership buy-in, misalignment of goals, or even the ethical and workforce concerns like bias in algorithms, transparency and explainability, impact on jobs or employee trust and engagement. We had a typical discussion on legal and compliance challenges, regulatory compliance, liability issues, lack of clear guidelines, etc., and even financial and investment barriers, high initial costs, uncertain ROI, continuous investment, etc. So all these aspects typically were looked into in the first lecture. In the second lecture, we had a discussion with respect to HRM digitization. So HRM digitization, specifically the sources and future opportunities were typically understood. We understood the difference between digitalization and digitization. If you remember, we understood what is HRM digitization. We understood the importance of HRM digitization, right from enhanced efficiency to improved employee experience, etc. Then we looked into the future opportunities in HRM digitization. So be it AI and ML, talent acquisition, performance analytics, or predictive analytics. We looked into the remote work and digital collaboration possibilities, data privacy, ethical considerations. We looked into employee experience and well-being, for that matter. We looked into advanced analytics and AI integration, with respect to recruitment, performance, turnover, workforce planning. We had a discussion on enhanced employee engagement here. If you recollect, we talked about the communication, the analytics, the personalization, remote work capabilities. We had discussions on continuous learning, diversity and inclusion, and also predictive workforce planning and sustainability. Then we moved to AI in career succession planning, specifically where we had a typical agenda to look into what do you mean by succession planning, what is the importance of succession planning to any organization, for that matter, what are the key elements, what is the traditional approach, how it is and how the new approach is different from the traditional approach. All these aspects were typically looked into. Then we moved into the ninth module, where we typically started looking into the sustaining green HRM. So AI in sustaining green HRM, which is again a topic which required or warranted greater attention. So we had given that time and scope for that AI in sustaining green HRM. So AI was looked into from the social sciences point of view and also from the technology point of view. So artificial intelligence with respect to the types of AI, specifically if you ask me, the artificial narrow intelligence or artificial general intelligence or artificial super intelligence, AI's technology perspective was the machine learning technologies and the perception technology. So these were some of the typical understanding with respect to AI. We also looked into green human resource management and determinants of green human resource management to understand the role of AI in adopting GHRM. So basically streamlining recruitment and selection, from that point to enhancing training and development, from performance management appraisal, supporting employee motivation, or facilitating employee empowerment, improving operational efficiency or automation of HR functions, promoting a green corporate culture. All these aspects were typically included. If you recollect, we had also discussed case studies with respect to Infosys, AI-driven ERP system and smart meters for energy reduction, digital HRM practices. We had also discussed typical case studies with respect to PepsiCo, AI in recruitment and selection, remote interviews, paperless documentation. We also looked into chatbot Nina, an example of AI-powered virtual assistant for employee support. So AI plays a crucial role in enabling and enhancing the GHRM practices, from streamlining recruitment, if you ask me, to improving operational efficiency and promoting a green culture. So AI technologies offer numerous benefits. Then we looked into the second lecture where we discussed about the emerging trends of AI based HRM. So we looked into the key trends. We looked into AI driven onboarding, automation and efficiency, AI enabled chatbot, specifically NLP for natural communication, personalized experience, remote and hybrid onboarding support, AI integration in the first weeks, improved access to information, continuous feedbacks, etc. We looked into diversity and inclusion. We looked into work engagement. We looked into typically the emotional intelligence perspective. We also looked into AI assisted mental health services. So basically, by navigating through all these typical aspects, we tend to understand the trends. If you recollect, we had also looked into a case study here with respect to IBM, where we looked into the recruitment and talent acquisition. What's in recruitment, if you recollect the point. Employee retention and talent management, attrition prediction rings a bell. Performance management, real-time feedback, diversity and inclusion, employee engagement, wellness, all about the chatbots and wearables. So AI is revolutionizing HRM by automating processes, personalizing experiences, promoting diversity and inclusion, enhancing work engagement, and if you ask me, supporting emotional intelligence and mental health. So this is what making AI all the more relevant and capable. Then we discussed about the benefits of synergizing AI and HRM. If you recollect, you will see that we have looked into the possibilities of AI algorithms match problems with the solutions. We have looked into the typical HR innovation management. Specifically, we have looked into the automated business model developments. So in general, we understood that AI offers significant benefits to HRM, from streamlining process to enhancing decision making and talent management. So successful implementation requires building AI competencies with HR, fostering a data-driven culture, and prioritizing ethical considerations. So addressing challenges related to bias, related to data privacy, related to cultural adaptation and human AI collaboration is vital for realizing the full potential of AI in HRM. Then we move to the 10th module. As and when we progress to the fag end, we are looking into the practical orientation, where we will be looking into AI in compensation and benefits. So specifically, we look into compensation and benefits. We look into critical aspects concerning attracting, motivating and retaining the employees. Compensation, which includes everything from salary, from wages to bonus, commission, etc. So all these aspects typically were introduced in the first lecture. If you recollect, we looked into the key benefits of AI in compensation management. What are the best practices for implementing AI? Ensuring data quality and diversity, engaging with stakeholders, monitor and audit the AI systems, provide training for HR teams, prioritize the privacy and compliance. So all these typical factors were discussed in the first lecture. So typically, we have seen that AI offers significant advantages in modernizing the compensation. In the second lecture, we have looked into the key concepts. Again, machine learning, what it does, NLP, how it helps in terms of compliance, robotic process automation, computer vision, blockchain, all these typical technologies, how it is aiding in compliance, we had a detailed look about. So basically, we concluded that AI offers significant advantages in enhancing compliance by automating tasks, improving accuracy, enabling real-time monitoring and ensuring scalability. So key technologies like ML, NLP, RPA, computer vision, blockchain play crucial roles. So that said, organizations must address the challenges related to data quality, ethics and legal barriers, including the change management and the cost aspects. Then we looked into one of the most critical topics, AI mediated knowledge management. So knowledge management is all about strategies and practices for capturing, distributing and utilizing an organization's collective knowledge. So we started the discussion with challenges in traditional knowledge management, what it was like: data silos, outdated information, time consuming retrieval, lack of personalization, etc. Then we looked into the role of AI in knowledge management. Specifically, we looked into ML, NLP, robotic process automation, what are the key applications of AI in knowledge management, and finally we concluded with the benefits of AI mediated knowledge management. But we also discussed the challenges like the problem with respect to data quality and availability, or privacy and security concerns, or user trust and resistance, or bias in AI algorithms, or technical and financial barriers. So all these typical aspects were discussed with respect to the challenges and limitations of AI in knowledge management. Specifically, AI offers significant potential to overcome limitations of traditional knowledge management, enabling more efficient knowledge discovery, sharing, personalization, and retention. And then we moved to the 11th module, where we looked into AI in SHRM, we looked into traditional SHRM, we looked into modern SHRM, and we also looked into what are the benefits of AI in SHRM specifically. So how it enhances employee experiences with AI. So SHRM has evolved from a primarily administrative function to a strategic driver of organizational success. So AI is further transforming SHRM by automating tasks, providing data-driven insights, and enhancing employee experiences. And then we looked into HRP and HR chatbots, specifically human resource planning. We had an overview. We looked into the challenges. What are the different challenges with respect to HRP? What are the different best practices with respect to HRP? And we also try to understand in detail about HR chatbots, the overview, the different types of chatbots that are available, or the comparison specifically with respect to the benefits and challenges. So HRP is a crucial aspect for aligning human resources with organizational goals. AI tools are enhancing HRP by providing data-driven insights and automating the key process. And then we have the future of AI in enhancing typically the employee experience. So we looked at that as the lecture 3 of module 11, where we typically looked into what do you mean by hyper personalization, or what is the possibility with respect to predictive analytics or integration of AI tools, hybrid work, etc. So basically, employee experience is a critical factor in organizational success. So AI offers significant potential to enhance employee experience by personalizing experiences and automating tasks, improving communication, and providing data-driven insights specifically. Then we move to the last module, where we had a totally practically oriented module and lectures, where we looked into HR and company culture. So in the first lecture, part 1, we looked into the company culture. We tried to define company culture, effects and challenges with respect to company culture, how we can measure company culture, cultural assessment tools, etc. Then we looked into the second part of the lecture, where we tried to give you some insights into typical demo of some apps and softwares, and possible usage or best use cases for that, like HighPeople, Lattice. We also discussed about a case study with respect to Netflix, how it has an impact on the culture part. We also significantly try to give you a detailed possible demonstration of the software by going through the platform image by image, pixel by pixel, thereby getting you a bit of insight into what it is. Again, the word of caution here is, as per your requirement, you can always look into the possibilities and the different options available. But I always encourage you to explore different AI tools like this, so that you get a clear idea and how you can go about it in a later part. How you can go about it as per your organizational requirement. In the lecture 2, we looked into how we can adopt AI in managing company culture. We looked into some of the advantages of AI in managing company culture. We also looked into some of the challenges of managing company culture, which is significant. We saw employee resistance, data privacy and ethical concerns, over-reliance on technology, bias in AI algorithms, need for training, investment costs, etc. So all these typical aspects were discussed in terms of the challenges of AI in managing company culture. We looked into how we can determine the culture readiness for AI. And we also looked into some of the typical areas of adopting AI in company culture, like empowering employees, or preparing for cultural shifts, or promoting continuous learning, or fostering curiosity and experimentation, or even maintaining an open communication in the organization, or enhancing collaboration and morale, championing innovation and adaptability. These were some of the typical areas of adopting AI in company culture. We also looked into some of the typical tools that used to enhance the company culture, specifically if you recollect with respect to automation, UiPath, PandaDoc, security, Vectra AI, Darktrace, training, Coursera's AI for everyone. For recruitment, we used ATS specifically. Well-being, we used Ginger for mental health and Optimity for wellness. So all these tools were typically discussed with respect to topic on adopting AI as part of the typical company culture. Then we also had given a certain discussion with respect to some typical tools like PandaDoc, as I already mentioned, Headspace demo. We discussed about Talmundo, and we also looked into some of the real life cases with respect to the managing culture and how AI has given a significant breakthrough in terms of human resource management specific to company culture and otherwise. So basically we look into all these possibilities where you are venturing into a zone which has a certain level of influence in every zone of its domain. Then finally we concluded with the discussion point whether it is a boon or curse. That means the coexistence of human resource management and AI, whether it is actually a boon or curse. We see that the debate is ongoing. AI's rapid advancement in HR raises questions about its harmonious integration. So there is a need for balance, balancing AI's benefit, efficiency inside with its drawbacks, ethical concerns, job displacement is crucial. So well integrated AI optimizes processes, while mismanaged AI can create resistance and human morale. So AI as a boon, automation of routine tasks, you have enhanced talent acquisition, you have employee engagement and retention as a boon, you have augmentation of decision making, learning and development coming as a boon. But when you look into AI as a curse, you have job displacement as a problem. You have ethical and privacy concern as a problem. You have resistance to change as a problem. You have increased dependence on technology as a problem. So when you are looking into these aspects, typically you see that there are critical aspects which we discussed as part of boon and curse. We have also looked into some real life examples. We have also looked into the case studies. We have also looked into Skillsoft Persevere demo of that. We have also looked into the demo of Degreed in terms of the part 2 of coexistence of HR and AI. So when you look into specifically the entire course, the entire AI in human resource management, over 30 hours, last 12 weeks, at least you would have gone through each and every lecture, I hope sincerely, because I see good responses, good feedback. I do understand that you're going through, we have some live sessions where you can actually rectify your questions also, or any queries if you have, any concerns you have. But it was an eventful journey, and please note, something which I stated categorically in my introduction video about the course. In the era of AI, the heart of human resource management lies in blending the technological brilliance with human empathy. Many a time we have this notion that more the technology, more the objectivity, more the efficiency, but the loss of the human empathy, the loss of human touch, a point which we try to emphasize over and over in many of the lectures and modules, creating a future where innovation and inclusivity thrive together. That is more critical. That is more important. Thank you to all the learners, all the participants who had enrolled and have gone through this wonderful journey of AI in human resource management. As part of this particular course, I've tried to showcase one thing. Technology is inevitable. AI is there. AI is real time. It is helping each and every domain in human resource management. There is no doubt about it. Let's not shut down our eyes and make the whole world blind. Let's understand that AI is there. AI is helping, aiding, enhancing, as we have seen, all the different domains of human resource management. That said, it is us to understand that many a time decision making needs a human touch. You need a human being to actually tell that this is wrong or this is right. Objectively, you might have a choice. But whether that is right or wrong, sometimes it comes to a point where you have to tell that this is right and this is wrong. In the era of AI, the heart of HRM lies in blending technological brilliance with human empathy, creating a future where innovation and inclusivity thrives together. This is the particular notion, this is the particular thought I want to end with, where we look into the fact that we need the human touch. Many a time we are making decisions. Many a time we have parameters and the technology gives us a particular decision. But how effectively can we come back and look into the human aspect? Maybe there is something that has, triggered a particular individual to behave in a certain way. That is why we have not looked only into AI. We have looked into an amalgamation. We have looked into an integration of AI in human resource management, a point where there is technology, but there is also the human touch. Thank you for listening to me patiently, not only in this class, but throughout the entire 12 modules, all the 30 hours. We'll see you in some other course. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.